Hello, welcome back to Space Engineers! In today's video, we're looking at another modular weapon mod. This one is called the Scalable Super Lasers. It's this lovely thing that I'm standing in the barrel of. So this is a gigantic laser beam that does quite a lot of damage, and you can scale it up to do as much damage as you actually want it to do. We have a starting piece, we then got a middle section, we've got an end piece, modules to attach onto it, lots of customization. The only thing you can't make it do is go around corners. So what we're going to do is take a look around what this mod has to offer, then we're going to go through the individual pieces, and then at the very end, I've set one up facing the Albatross directly onto it. We'll blast it to see the damage it can deal. So with this mod, what we get are 4 different blocks. We get this one over here, which is the starting block. We then get the core block, and then we get the end block. And above there and the bottom there, we can see a module, which we'll talk about in just a moment. So the starting block is, of course, well, you have to place this to actually build the gun around it. You plop it down, you put the end piece on the end of it, and you can attach modules if you want, and the gun will fire. The core piece, the middle section that we're looking at right now, this is how you scale the gun up. You can keep slapping these on as many as you want, it will increase the power, increase the damage it deals, and you can keep going until, well, you can blow up an entire planet. Then of course the end piece, which is needed for the gun to actually fire. If you have the starting piece, the core piece, but not the end piece, nothing is going to happen. So once you're happy with the length of your weapon, slap that on the end of it, and you're ready to go. As for the pieces that go along the top and the bottom of this simply increases the damage at the cost of more power draw. So you can simply have these on there if you wanted to, but ultimately that's personal preference at the end of the day, depending on how much damage you need to deal. So for a quick demonstration, what I'm going to do is grab hold of my character, come up that little chair sitting on top of the modules, all the way up to here, into this, and I'm just going to bring the camera back over, press number 1, and now the gun is going to start the fire. We see we get a beam that comes from the front towards the back, then after a short charge up, it'll then blast out the front. We get a lovely particle and pinky beam. So any second now. And there we go, a lovely pinky purple beam that just shoots out and will annihilate anything in its path. If we were to zoom all the way away, that is the range of the gun with what I've currently got set up. So simply a start, a core, and an end piece. And you can make that much more bigger, much more destructive, if that's what you want. Anyway, for the actual individual core pieces, in fact there's a little bit of smoke there, I didn't notice that when I tested this out. Yes, for the individual pieces, this is what we get. So it doesn't really look like too much when we're staring at it like so. On the right hand side is your start, on the left hand side is your end, and in the middle is the core, with the modules and how they attach onto the top and the bottom. If we were to get a bit closer at this is simply what it looks like. We've got some lovely little heat vents along the middle, we've got some very handy arrows to tell you which way the gun is pointing, and we've got a lovely window in the middle there to make sure you can see the beam as it charges up when it is about to fire. If we were to come across to the core piece, here it is, basically the same. And then we've got the end piece where we've got like almost a jump drive in the middle there to cover up one of the end pieces. If you were to move all the way up, this is your little module that sits on top. It very neatly sits on the top of one of the block pieces, where the end pipes will then sit on one of these dark grey squares and make it look like one complete block. If you were to come over to this one, once again, that one is still smoking. Here we go. It just doesn't look like this module's attached onto this, it looks like it's all one complete block. Anyway, back over to this, and we'll come all the way inside. We then got this lovely bright green glow. As we go further inside, it gets brighter and brighter. You can see some of the dirt on the window blocks to make sure you can actually see it's window blocks, unlike me who usually just walk into the windows because they're so crystal clear. And moving all the way along towards the end here, you can then see the edge that looks like a jump drive. We've got some lovely little knobbly parts around the edge there. It looks like it's going to pull back and open up like a door from one of the Fallout vaults. Anyway, come around towards the very back. There we go. Then we got to move all the way up and look at the module. And all the way down is it. There we are once again. But it looks like I put the modules on the wrong way around, so do ignore that, it's supposed to be pointing the other way around, but you get the idea of what this looks like. Yes, how do we fire the gun? So you built it, you put it all together, you got it to the length you want, but there's no traditional trigger to fire it, like a rocket launcher or a Gatling gun. So we need to come into this, to the control panel, and actually set something up. So the way it works is that we had to grab all the blocks and turn it into a singular block group. I'm simply going to call it number 1 and hit save. So up here we see we've got our group, all the parts now attached onto this. Now we come over to the hotbar, grab our group, down to here. Now we're just going to drag it and change it to one of these options. I'm personally going to put it to shoot on and off. Let's click that, now press number 1. Now turn on, it's going to start firing, and it's going to shoot out its lovely pink beam. You can then change it to a mouse click or to a firing key if you want to do that. That's entirely up to you. I personally like having it on a toggle on and off, because it does use one hell of a lot of power. And speaking of power, while this thing's now going to shoot off into the distance, we come over to one of the core pieces, end piece or start pieces. We see here all the lovely weapon core stuff, and your DPS, peak DPS, shots per second, power draw, and all of that. So we see here the starting piece uses 84 megawatts, which is quite a lot, so you will need to make sure you have a large reactor on there to make sure you can fire this gun. And of course, the bigger it is, the more power it will draw, so more reactors will be needed, or any kind of modded power system you have. Yes, why was my gun smoking after I fired it at the start of the video? Well, one thing you can do with this to maximize the damage is set this to overload. Yes, overloading it is going to greatly increase the damage, but it's going to damage the block as you fire it. So to grab this and move all the way down, set it auto overload, there we go. And now once we're ready to go again, and now press number 1, and it's going to start up, and then it's going to shoot, and then it's going to deal a fair amount of damage to this block. It deals about 30% to each block. That is something to watch out for, but if you're in a dire enough situation that you need to use that toggle, then you're probably going to be losing a lot more than just this gun itself. So while that thing is charging up, what I'm going to do is now hop out of the seat and come into the G menu. But first of all, making sure my character can actually see when it starts to fire, hiding away the welder, and we're going to come into here and find the Scalable Super Laser. So inside this, these are the blocks you get, so here's all 4, and we can see there are only 4 large block grids. So as we can see, for the cost, they are rather expensive to build, and of course the more you build it, the more expensive it's going to get. So in the middle here, we can see we've got our start and our core piece, which both cost the same, 500 computers, 250 superconductors, 50 motors, 25 gravity components, 50 large steel tubes, 250 construction components, and 500 steel plates. Over to the end piece, this uses 500 more steel plates, the ending section. Over to the actual mod itself, which costs a little bit less, but still, altogether, it's quite an expensive gun to build, but due to the damage, due to the range, it's definitely warranted. And I don't think this is going to be able to charge up in time for the rest of the video, so what I'm going to do is now just move away from that and come over to this end section where hopefully that'll be fully charged by the end of it. In fact, what I'll do is just come over to this, into there, actually turn that off, make sure it doesn't randomly fire off. And well, it looks like it's actually going to start firing up, so we're going to sit here and actually let it fire, then we can actually see the damage that happens to the blocks itself once it's all fired. So here we go, there's the sparks from the back, and there's the lovely pink beam. So now coming all the way up to it with the welder, over to the end piece, here we go. We see we've got no damage, then over to the core, we are now down to 62%. So there we go, in a dire situation, we get 3 shots out of this, but well yeah, that's only if you really need to use it. Anyway, as I was saying, it's time to move over to this. We're going to shoot it into a large block ship to see the sheer damage it can deal. Now this one has got quite a few core blocks on there, it's all set up with a lovely colour, got a lovely sci-fi blue at the end, and a typical purple glamour skin, and a bunch of reactors that I tried to make into a gun trigger, make it look all fancy from a distance. So coming all the way up to this, into the seat, there we go. Now coming over to the free camera, now time to get a good look at what's going on with this. So I have made sure this is perfectly lined up by building off the Albatross, which is the ship in red. I made steel blocks all the way from the Albatross to the start of the end section, remove the steel blocks there, make sure it's all perfectly lined up with that hydrogen thruster in the middle. So what we're going to do is now actually make sure this is all connected up properly. So there we go, we're all into one singular group. Time to press number 1 and actually fire this thing. Bring the free camera back over. Look at that go. That's going to deal one hell of a lot of destruction. We're actually going to look at it like so. Then after it's all done, after it's made its lovely sound and charged up and fired all the way through, let's see the damage it can cause. So any second now, there's a little spurt. And there we go. Look at the destruction it's caused straight through the dead middle of that hydrogen thruster. We can see one hell of a lot of sparks, hell of a lot of particle effects, and one hell of a lot of damage at the back there, but it didn't actually do too much damage. That's probably because the ship has moved away. You can see the beam saw went through this section where the landing gear was, and has completely separated the back section of it. It's now floating away. So it's extremely precise, not too destructive as I was expecting compared to the thermonuclear warhead weapon, but certainly it's going to do a lot of damage. You have a lot of these all pointing towards the ship, and you can just tear it straight through it and go for their precious resources such as a hydrogen tank, blow that up, and take them fully out of commission. As for that, that's pretty much it for the Scalable Super Laser. It's a fantastic modded weapon to use in your world if you want to have something rather spectacular to watch and blush enemies. It's not too overpowered at the end of the day. It certainly does a lot of damage when you scale it up, but due to the sheer cost of building it, due to the sheer charge up time, there's plenty of time for your enemies to actually escape this thing and get away. But before I end the video, I can think of one more thing to actually do. That's come across over to my original weapon, over here. In fact, I need to actually have my character over as well, so I can plop him down there. I need to come over to this. So what I'm going to do is now activate this gun and stand inside it, And I think that'll be a good way to end the video. So activating that, and coming inside the barrel. Here we go, this is what it looks like if we were to sit down here, and I suppose we're looking at first person view. So there is beam firing, it's going to charge up any second. And once it's all ready to go, we're probably going to be ejected out high speed, hopefully. Not, well, that'll be that for this video. And there we go, we're now all dark inside here. It looks like the overload damage has damaged basically all the blocks inside here. Bring up the HUD there, yep, we're now damaged there. Just repairing all that up. But it did not deal any damage to me, did not deal any kind of force damage to me. But anyway, as I said, that's it for this video. There'll be links to it in the description below to download and play around it yourself. Highly recommend you do. And I'll be back with another video some point soon. Bye bye.